Buddy, it's time for the second semifinal here at day 2 of the Hearthstone Legendary Series. The winner of this faces Chalky in the grand finals and doubles up to $4,000. My name is Frodan. I'm joined by TJ and Reynad again to bring you the series action between Darkwonyx and his opponent, who will be a player who's coming from the second runner-up. It's been a long journey so far here. And I've been really trying to see what's been going on with some of the metagame stuff. We've been having a lot of back and forth action. Like SilentStorm is a player who brings his own unique decks, but so does Darkwonyx, and that's what makes the semifinal really cool. Yeah, because these guys have been off the cuff, very different from what standard play is. And overall, I'm really excited to see this upcoming series. Yeah,
Darkwonyx being the only player to bring Priest to the tournament, and a really interesting choice. Actually got him a victory yesterday. And but we'll have to see how much momentum plays into it, because we saw Zalay. He came in. This was the first match that he played today, which was the last match that we saw, and he lost. And Chalky was riding a huge momentum swing because of he already played 2 matches today. He already had 2 victories today, so he's warmed up, feeling confident. SilentStorm's sort of in the same boat. He has a victory under his belt today too. So how much does that momentum play in?
It definitely helps you out psychologically. It's gonna mean he's a lot less likely to tilt. Definitely helps out. Man, if you told me at the beginning of this event that there's a chance that we saw Demon Lock versus Priest, I would not have believed you. But hoping that matchup comes up, sure, pretty fun to see.
That'd be really cool. I mean, we got to know SilentStorm a little bit. He had a great run in Prismata too. He's from Canada. It's his first event. He's one of the youngest players too. Darkwonyx is not that much older than him. He's, what, 22 years old? And yet he's...
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, Darkwonyx
he's one of the more accomplished players dating back to the first season beta, where I think when the ladder first started coming out with Legend ranks, he finished #1 in the first season. So that's how long Darkwonyx has been around. And he did it with Control Warrior too. That was at a time where not many people played Control Warrior.
Yeah, with the Raging Worgen list. From
stuff like
Razor. That. Yeah, I remember that. It was very cool.
We gave you a couple facts about Darkwonyx. We got a chance to talk with him too. It's our last video piece on the final remaining player here at the Legendary Series. Take a look.
I'm Johan Hansen, nicknamed Darkwonyx online. I'm from Sweden, and I played Hearthstone since pretty much early beta. And I like heavy control decks pretty much. Just put in all the kind of giants and you got me. Hearthstone, like, it keeps me going because it's really fun to play. And as long as you're having fun and you get everything alongside with it, that's like all a bonus in my opinion. But the main goal is just enjoy what you're doing. I've never been to US before. It's my first time here, and it's not exactly what I expected because it's much warmer than I thought it would be, at least in California. Because I'm used to like the colds in Sweden right now. It's snowing there at the moment, so it's kind of a vacation and a tournament in one. A deck that finds me is most likely a weird deck that I made myself, I guess, because I like fear crafting a lot and create new decks all the time. So I wouldn't say there's a specific deck that defines me, but some kind of heavy control paladin, I would say, like would define me the most as a player. But I also like testing out new decks and to see what's out there that no one has ever done before. The metagame right now is a lot better than it used to be in my opinion, because the Undertaking nerf got hit recently, and it makes more control decks viable, and it's more fun to try to test around new decks and to see what's actually good in this meta. Because right now I think like Rogue is one deck that's hard to play around, because most guys on the ladder play Rogue right now. My ideal way to win this is just by catching my opponent off guard, making them grasp for a breath, and just watch them roll around on the floor a bit and trying to survive while I just hit lethal on their face.
And you heard from Darkwonyx. He loves throwing his opponent off guard, and that's what he's been doing so far. 2 of the most unconventional deck builders in their respective regions clashing here in the semifinals. Who's going to come out on top? I mean, the lineups are so funky. We very well could see like matchups that we haven't seen in like 7 months.
Yeah, the weeks that both of these guys won were 2 of the most exciting weeks that we ever saw for the regular season for the Legendary Series. Darkwonyx was the one who brought out that combo lock that SilentStorm sort of has it's a Warlock deck that sort of goes against the grain. And SilentStorm, he was one of the only players to play Shaman in a long time, so very interesting deck choices.
All right, well, Priest versus Druid, Druid versus Shaman, then Warrior versus the Warlock. Very peculiar, but you know, the Shaman, of course, that's the unusual pick just for being a Western player. At the same time, it's SilentStorm's own style. The big key defining deck, though, has been that Warlock deck. And we'll see whether or not that's going to come into play. Game number 1 between Priest and Drew is about to begin in the second semifinal. The winner gets $4,000 and one step closer to being the champion.
So yeah, Priest versus Druid, we see this. We used to see this pretty often. Basically, Druid is favored, but Priest can just win the game if it draws like double Dark Cultist or Injured Blade Master Circle of Healing for turn 3. It's very easy for one of the two decks to run away with the game, and it really just depends on what the board looks like after turn 3. See, if I were Darkwonyx, I would keep that circle actually, because Blade Master is his best chance of winning, and he needs that 2-card combo to make it happen. Kind of like keeping Keeper of the Grove against Zoo, where Innervate Keeper is really important for Druid beating Zoo. He's gonna have to put it back though, and okay, Zombie Chow's pretty good actually.
Zombie Chow. Yeah, that's right. He has 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, just want to get on board nice and early.
What's better than one Zombie Chow? Well, there's actually a lot of things that are better than Zombie Chow. Whoa.
Pre-nerf Undertaker.
You know, what happened to Shrinkmeister right now? Everyone said that that card was supposed to be the messiah of Priest. It's like, oh, we finally can attack 4 attack minions.
Yeah, some Priest decks do play it. You just don't see Priest often enough to really know whether Shrinkmeister is common or not, you know? Half the players I play against on ladder do, half the Priest opponents do have Shrinkmeister, some of them don't. But yeah, it was a card that was definitely talked up quite a bit when it first came out, or when it was spoiled.
A lot of times playing Shrinkmeister in a deck, it comes out as just a 3-2. You don't feel like you are safe enough to be able to save it for a combo, or it just doesn't, the combo that you get with it is just not relevant, like with a Cabal Shadow Priest or something. So
it's a similar case with Wild Pyromancer a lot of the time too, though. Like playing a 2-mana 3-2 isn't that bad, and just having that option in the first place is pretty solid. We might actually, oh no, never mind. I was gonna say we might see Savage Roar next turn, but probably just a Drake.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, a dead turn here for the Priest. I mean, you still attack, and you get some damage in, but the Zombie Chows will heal him up pretty quickly, so Druid's not under the heaviest amount of pressure to try and survive.
Yeah, this matchup is not so much about dealing damage from either side. It's more about just getting board control and then snowballing with it. So the fact that Priest had 3 minions down by turn 3 is far above average, so that's like a really good start. But, you know, Druid had a pretty solid one too. Wild Growth, Double Shade, it's very strong. Sylvanas, I think, is going to be one of the key cards this game, because assuming that the Druid doesn't end up drawing a Keeper of the Grove by the time that comes down, it could easily just control the board on its own.
Well, he's going to cross his fingers and hopefully for no Holy Nova.
well, that's a shame. If he'd had that Arcanized Soul Priest last turn, it would have made it a really problematic turn for SilentStorm, because that would have been quite a bit of damage that he would have taken on the other end trying to clear out those Zombie Chows.
Well, Hawkeye still a solid draw if it can be followed up by a Circle of Healing. That's definitely one way to swing this board back in his favor, but an uncontested Druid of the Claw is just one of the many great threats Druid has against Priest.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same as a Spectral Knight because it's not getting targeted.
Was SilentStorm the player actually running Spectral Knights? I know there was one Druid player who had them.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. They definitely seem great for this tournament, though. A lot of Rogue.
Yeah.
I guess even Rogue can deal with it pretty easily now since they play Double Blade Flurry, but...
Warrior as well has trouble dealing with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because you can't have target removal. It's even out of range of, like, Deathbite plus the War Wind effect.
Well, the world's biggest Fen Creeper sitting in play.
Better than Fen Creeper. Spawns a Goldshire Footman afterwards.
Ready for action.
Good cards.
There is no Black Knight, though. Black Knight would have completely destroyed this blowout game.
Yeah. Not much room for Black Knight currently, because a lot of the popular decks just aren't very taunt heavy.
Wow, that was an interesting trade sequence, because now it's just an easy shot for the Arcanized Soul Priest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a play he had to make. If he waited the Sludge Belcher we get to attack and heal up, so he gets a bit less value out of his minions.
Yeah. And Soul Priest also puts a wrench in SilentStorm's plans as well, because he's coming up on turn 7. So turn 7, of course, Dr. Boomer, Ancient of Lore. An Ancient of Lore turn, if he plays Ancient of Lore, unless he has an Innervate for a hero power to take out the Akanai Soul Priest, Akanai Soul Priest actually trades pretty well into an Ancient of Lore, as long as you can fit in a hero power. So
yeah, it's about the implication of it, though. It's like Ancient of Lore was a 5/5 and needed the opponent to trade down into it, and you drew 2 cards. So
Yeah.
it's still really effective. The big thing is whether or not you can use Ancient of Lore to bait out Shadow Word Death, and then have like Dr. Boom come out, because it's very rare to see a priest play like a big game hunter. So Shadow Word Death is his primary the tool.
yeah.
I like this Sylvanas play more than the Akanai. If he did go with Akanai here to take out the Shade, the Drake would just kill it with the help of hero power, and then this 4/1 threat would still be in play, ready to trade off for something else. Priest just doesn't have a lot of good ways of pinging off something with 1 damage.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
with 1
Fair
health.
enough. The only way you can do it is if you have Pyromancer.
But there are a lot of just resources at Drew's disposal here. It feels terrible, but I would actually just trade both minions into the Sylvanas.
Ouch.
It's not pretty, but you get to develop the first threat.
Yeah, you still keep initiative, but
Would you play the Ancient of Lore or Dr. Boom?
Dr. Boom. I like forcing them to have the death as early as possible, and then if they have the death in that scenario, you still have the boom bots for immediate. Like, by playing it a turn earlier, you get more value out of the boom bots because you get to free roll 2 damage.
All right, here we go, Dr. Boom, but it is going to be Shadow Word Death. The follow-up still is not well defined yet.
That Vol'jin, you really need to be playing Smites with that card, or else it does just get awkward a lot of the time. Or you need to have an Akanai already sitting in play, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah, it's a good point.
This turn definitely seems just like a death drop Akanai. Having Akanai in play sets up that Vol'jin pretty well. If these boombots end up killing the Akanai, then hopefully there's still one around to Cabal. It's not the end of the world. I guess you run into it and just see what gets hit.
yeah.
Decide if you have to keep her or the Grove. If he does keep her, that's going to give Darkwonyx a fantastic Cabal Shadow Priest target, though. So he has to keep
The
that
only
in mind.
targets, really, other than the Pilot Shredders, that can drop something.
Yeah, regardless of his play, I think he has to check first.
Left Boombot hits for 4 to the face.
Ooh.
I mean, just has to hit this and has a 50% chance.
Oh.
Well, so he can hero power it down, but
I would just play Sylvanas on an empty board.
Yep. It's been through a death.
Exactly. If he goes for another one, that's fine, too.
I don't even know are priests playing 2 Shadow Word Deaths anymore. I just haven't seen priests enough to.
Everyone's
To
list
see.
is different, to be honest.
Yeah.
For all the decks that you don't see very often, everyone has a very different list of it. Like, for example, Shaman, SilentStorm's list is very different from Pink Mingo's list.
Yeah. All the priest players have different lists. All 12 of them. This is troublesome.
yeah, it doesn't look very desirable. You know, you want to put out as much as you can to fight off the Sylvanas, but the Vol'jin is not a great tool because it's easy for your opponent to just, Wrath throw a minion, steal a 6/5. And then playing the injured Blade Master will just get eaten up, and you don't have a guarantee to be able to kill it off the next turn either. It's pretty problematic.
Oh, man. Every play is really bad. Every single one.
I mean, you probably just Vol'jin.
The problem is giving the 6/5 over to your opponent if he has any way to deal with it, whether it's Wrath or Keeper,
Yeah,
etc.
that's true.
What about playing the smaller minions and then healing the injured Blade Master?
Well, that's just going to get his Blade Master picked off, and then Keeper of the Grove again would just kill the 3/2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darkwonyx is going to do what he can, but this is just a situation where there's no good answer.
That's kind of what Priest struggles with too, right? Just those consistency issues of being able to answer if they don't have the right solutions at the time.
So he's going to go for the steal by shooting his own Sylvanas. This does mean he can't play a lore, and that's going to give Darkwonyx a Cabal Shadow Priest target.
Yeah, but he got a 6-5 in exchange
Yeah,
for it.
I'd say that's a pretty good trade. And we talked about how Darkwonyx got his victory yesterday with Priest, but I mean, he started off with the injured Blademaster Circle of Healing, which went a long way in the matchup that he ended up winning. So, like you said, just nodding on to the consistency again. If it's not there, then matches can just seem like endless uphill battles that just seem unwinnable at points.
Yeah, without that combo, Priest really does struggle, because so many of Druid's minions have 4 attack. They're just really tough to interact with. They never really run out of cards because Ancient of Lore, and then all throughout the late game, they're threatening 14 points of burst, so you have to heal yourself pretty often. You really need to snowball early and then control the board with hero power the entire game through.
Well, finally an opportunity to play Ancient of Lore and perhaps grab just such a firm lead that it won't ever let go. Druid be up in cards, ahead on the board, and looking at ending the game with the combo soon. This is just a runaway.
It's so tempting to kill Keeper of the Groves in this situation, but I wouldn't fault them for just going face either. That also forces the heal to make that.
He's already got combo, so he
Yeah.
just has to have these these minions survive and the game's over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's actually one of the best draws he could get.
It's pretty fantastic, actually.
This into Holy Nova.
he's deciding which minion to buff. Does he want to play Blade Master first? All right. Oh, man.
That is rough.
Oh boy.
And it's like,
Heard you like 4-3s.
out of all the things that you could get, that's
There's-
the worst in all matchups, but like,
I mean, I think that
against
and
Priest.
Millhouse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Millhouse as well.
Millhouse is the best, Succubus is the second best, and Patient Assassin's usually the third best.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Patience says. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really much, but Circle of Healing could be a way for you to clear the board with Augenai if you hold on to it, but using it now is also for you to fight back on the board. And I believe that is game. Force Nature Savage Horse should be able to lock it up. SilentStorm should be winning game number 1 here in just a moment.
yeah, Darkwonyx knows it. Gives a little nod in approval of the combo.
Well, maybe not approval. SilentStorm is up 1-0.
I think he played that about as well as he could have. That Sylvanas really was the turning point. I mean, he had no good answer. He had to drop Vol'jin, get it stolen. It was just a brutal position to be in.
Yeah, and then from there, he just never had an opportunity to seize back the board. And Priest, the only way it can gain advantages in those mid to late games is to use its hero power and with minions that are sticking on the board, but none of them would.
Definitely.
None of them would.
Power Word Shield also is probably the third most important card behind Cultist and Blade Master.
Right. More health, sticking on the board, just fighting, be able to do more combat damage, so that way cards like Injured Blade Master just have such longevity.
And
so
also
that
just,
way you can control the board.
Yeah, like stops your stuff from dying to Wrath and Swipe, which is like Druid's biggest weakness, right? They fall behind on board, they can't really catch up. But oh well, hopefully we'll see more Priest this tournament, maybe in the blind pick stage if it gets to that.
Yeah, it's weird to see that going into the tournament, we talked about it earlier, players were thinking that Hunter was the strongest and Priest was the weakest, where the 2 players that brought Hunter were in the first 3 players that got eliminated. And Darkwonyx, the only person bringing Priest, has actually made it to the semifinals. But it looks like that's not going to do him much good, at least in that first game, probably not in the series as well.
Looking at the matchups, that was our most lopsided game that we just got through. It was pretty heavily in favor of Druid, so the next 2 should be pretty close, and I'm excited to see them.
Shaman versus Druid, always a fun game, good struggle. And this is the more regular Shaman that we've seen, right? It has a few twists, but it's more of the one we come to expect compared to the Mech Shaman. So that should give Druid a problematic time if it falls onto the curve. If it's so good at the value game, especially if it can get hexes to shut down any big innervate plays.
Yeah, just like with the Priest matchup, this is all about who gets ahead on board early. It's really tough for either deck to really catch up once one gets a lead, and pretty much by turn 5, the game is decided one way or another if somebody has a significant board advantage. So we'll see if somebody can develop Shredder nice and early. It's interesting that Feral Spirit has kind of got worse with so many piloted Shredders. Like,
yeah, just because how effective it is. Well, here we go. Game number 2, SilentStorm is up 1-0. And will he be another second-place finisher in the group that upsets one of the first-place finishers from the group stages?
Oh, it's Warrior.
I like keeping Rockbiter
It's
here.
Warrior.
That changes
Warrior for
things.
Shaman.
It always hurts to keep Rockbiter against a defensive deck, but honestly, with Haunted Creeper, it'll take out an Armor Smith, it'll take out an Acolyte. You need to be able to deal with those cards, or else they're just going to pressure your totems all game.
All right. We just got notification that it is, in fact, the wrong choice. So we're going to have to re-mulligan that, because I think Warrior was the third class chosen, right? It was supposed to be Druid versus Shaman. Darkwonyx was the Druid.
Right.
Yep,
It's supposed to be Warrior versus Demon Lock.
Yeah, that's right, and I was looking forward to that. But that'll be coming up in just a few minutes, guys, after this match. So I think it's just an innocent mistake.
Yeah, it happens.
Nothing big deal. I was getting excited, though, because I was watching the mulligans, and I think this match is pretty cool. You know, I was thinking, like, Druid and Shaman, pretty good back-and-forth matches. I would say that if you were ever versus decks to come out, I would say Warrior Shaman's a fun one. I would say Druid Shaman's also a viable one as well.
Shaman versus the uphill struggle against better classes.
Yeah.
Those are fun games.
Poor Shaman.
Well, they're not necessarily like super fast and aggro, but not necessarily like really slow in control. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of interesting decision making.
Definitely.
Good old classic Hearthstone.
I'm a fan of keeping Feral Spirit against Druid, I think.
Yeah, Feral Spirit's on curve is really disruptive. It's hard for them to fight efficiently card-wise, just because Wrath doesn't do a really good job of it on 3 mana. And even Shave Next Rammus, it's like at least you're stalling them long enough for you to be able to build your board a little bit more.
Yeah, their shock's going to be pretty nice, too. After Piloted Shredder takes out a Feral Spirit, you can finish it off. Same thing with Shade Next Rammus. Druid's actually playing a lot of 3 health minions. Oh, yeah, Bloodfin Raptor.
And we've seen Oh,
sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I feel like people are missing out on a lot of potential beast synergy with that card this tournament.
Yeah. It's, I was going to say, it's sort of funny that all the players in the past, like 3 matches or so, wait for the mulligans. You guys said it was happening. SilentStorm doesn't believe in that. He's a super fast player. Once he decides his mulligans, he locks it in. No need for mind games with SilentStorm. One of the fastest players I've seen in competitive play.
I'm definitely a fan of that as a caster.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about fan of seeing more beast synergy in general? Because you were talking about Bloodfin Raptor. Why not Druid of the Fang? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, because it's terrible.
But snakes.
If that card was snakes.
But snakes.
If that card was a 7/7 all the time without me having to have a beast, I still wouldn't play it. That's how good that card is. Really. There's a card like that already exists, and it's called Fell Reaver, and it also gets big game hunted and makes me sad.
Yeah, but that's because the drawback of Fell Reaver.
Drawback never matters. It's just because it gets big game hunted. And so many 5-drops are good. You can lose some stats to have like the Loatheb effect, for example. It's almost always better.
Fair enough. So by that logic, if Druid of the Fang was a 50-50.
That's very different, because then it's like BGH where you lose the game.
Okay.
So anything between 30 and infinity is the same number, and then like 29 to 1 is.
So if Druid of the Fang was a 29-29, you wouldn't put in your deck.
Let's say like 25, because you can usually get in the first 5. And if it was a 20-20, I would not put it in my deck.
Oh my goodness.
You heard it here first.
You are too much, Andre. The Panther was put out there just to control the board. I think it's so important just to deny it. If Shaman misses its 2-drop, controlling the totems is still really effective. It's always been the core to how Shaman does anything, whether it's Flame Tongue Totems, Defender of Argus, even the Rock Biters to get big trades. They can often use their free cards given off totems.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why Shaman has a lot of strengths against Druid. It's just because they can use their totems to trade up. And a lot of times the mid-range creatures that they put out just get traded with like a Haunted Creeper or with like a couple totems, which really stops the momentum. It allows the Shaman to clear, while also putting out threats of their own because they're using low mana to take out high mana.
Yeah.
I would have really liked to have seen a Wild Pyromancer on turn 2 from the Shaman. We know that there was Innervate Keeper of the Grove available for Darkwonyx, which would have kind of shut that play down, but it's hard to play around that 2-card combo, and you really don't want to let all of your totems get whittled down. This Panther also trades for a Wolf, which is not irrelevant.
Yeah, but it's not ideal if you want to seize the board initiative, because now you can place that Wild Pyromancer safely behind a taunt if he ends up dealing with it very passively.
I think I would be okay with just innervating hero power here. I think it's better than drawing with Wrath, and I think you do want to develop the Keeper.
And 2 attack is really important, just to keep smacking down those totems.
4 health too. Survives Rockbiter and Bolt.
True.
The Totem Slam.
So it also survives against your Crackles.
Yeah. Unkillable by Rainhead Crackles.
Yeah, and now it's another awkward position for SilentStorm. The Keeper of the Grove challenges the Pyromancer pretty easily. And I feel like the Pyromancer was directly made as a call of all those 1/1s that you might see, whether it's through Hunters, you know, even the Rogues, right? The Violet Teachers and the Apprentices.
Yeah. I think it's a smart choice. And he just totems up, which is... he wants to protect it.
But he's starting to get pretty far behind on the board. Like, if he drops his Drake, and it gets swiped, and Druid just starts pressuring. And it's one of those things where, like, no matter what he puts out, it starts getting immediately dealt with, and he keeps pushing for damage, and he just loses too much tempo.
All right, well, Wrath Keeper here is not bad, actually. Is the plan to trade off? Save the Wrath, maybe?
Maybe Wrath and trades his Keeper in.
I guess it develops a 1/1, that's fine.
Pay attention, class.
You know, and the 2/2/4 is doing too much if you're going to be generating. Oh.
All right,
why
did
the
we
spell
forget
power.
about spell power? Well, it's getting late in the day, I guess. That play wasn't
He
complicated
said 1
at all.
hour after saying you guys can't count.
You know, man, I just woke up.
Don't worry, we know.
I was sitting here thinking, maybe there's some next level strategies that these guys are talking about.
Right, that's what you're thinking of. You didn't miss it, too.
I was saying, oh yeah, maybe,
Become
maybe they're going to
legendary,
do
DJ.
it.
Become legendary.
Come on.
Well, I mean, this is what the Pyromancer was for, to deal with the Violet Teachers, but in what capacity could he do it? Let's see, the Crackle could roll 4 or higher.
Yeah, this Pyromancer doesn't really help out much here.
Yeah, I'm trying to evaluate it. It looks relatively weak, just because of its 2 health.
I think the best play is probably Pyromancer Shredder.
I think he really wants to kill off the Violet Teacher, though. Alright, 5 damage. Pretty reasonable.
Yeah, would have been the
Hey, you
same
know
outcome,
what,
anything over than 3.
The sweep does become relevant, because now if he gets Fire Elemental off the top, he'll have the 6 mana because of the Overload 1, and you'll be able to snipe anything. As well as any Power Mace, Rockbiter, or even Lightning Storm.
Yeah.
SilentStorm's been playing this game super, like, value heavy. He's hero powered as much as he can, and it's pretty much like armoring as a warrior. It's just gaining 2 life per totem. And that's really going to pay off if Darkwonyx never sees an Ancient of Lore, because he's just going to run out of resources.
Yeah.
But if he does find one, the Shaman won't really be able to capitalize on this style of play.
I think Lotheb might just lock SilentStorm out of being able to have a chance at coming back.
I mean, it depends. Depends on, like, what SilentStorm can do with the cards that he's drawn. Like, the big thing is that cards like Earthshock don't have impact. Flametongue Totem is also pretty minimal because there's no board ever. That's why he needs something big like Fire Elemental to swing it back.
Yeah.
Darkwonyx taking his time every turn, doesn't want to give anything away by just playing anything immediately. Wants to make it seem like he has options.
Yikes. X number 2.
Well, it's normally good against Druid, but I guess not when Lotheb's down. Time to Shredder Totem. Hope for the best.
Yeah, more Taunt Totems would be good.
They all have Taunt.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
It's like the Huffer of
They don't
Shaman.
all have Taunt. The Healing Totem doesn't have Taunt. Sometimes you feel like you can leave it up.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flame Tongue would put in work, though.
How much damage is this?
Too much.
It's 5, 7, 11, plus a swipe. 16. He's 1 mana off lethal.
Yeah. You could actually just go for it and put him pretty low.
Like that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world considering it.
He has so much damage in his hand already, and like so many options. So he's already got a pretty big board. Even if he loses at all, that means that the Shaman is playing spells to get rid of his board and not really developing anything of his own. There's nothing that can really stand in the way of what he has in his hand.
Snow Chugger. Well, not really that relevant because it's still going to be 4 health, which is the sweet spot for Druid most of the times. And as much as SilentStorm has great value cards, I think he's played this matchup a little bit too slow.
He could taunt up here with the Defender Vargas. Might be able to keep himself alive here, at least for another turn.
All of his options here are pretty tough. You feel obligated to Hex, but you also need to Totem and you need to Defender. It's just...
Yeah, that need... Nah, there's no way. That needed to be Taunt Totem even then. You know, you just dead to Savage Roar. Like, there's just so many ways for you to die here.
Yeah.
And Darkwonyx can choose his poison.
Oh, jeez. Icing on the cake.
I say you go for the Force of Nature Savage Roar combo. You're not trying to hide it.
Yeah. You should
Establish dominance.
Or just Savage Roar and just kill him with the hexes.
I think you Savage Roar and attack for 2, and then you Force of Nature.
What's the sexiest play here?
I think the sexiest is to just be aggressive.
It's kind of BM. I like the frog. I don't know why he's silencing.
Just fill your mana curve when you're trying to BM.
Oh, I like this.
Take notes.
Okay, all right.
Very nice.
Not bad, not bad, not bad.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Good technique.
The slight
Subtle.
smirk. He's so proud of himself.
SilentStorm looks ecstatic about death by frog.
That's true. He actually got killed by his own hexed frogs. It's quite unfortunate. But I guess maybe he can turn around with his Demon Warlock. That's going to be coming up against Warrior. Now, that deck, you know, Handlock against Warrior we've seen quite sometimes. That was one of the most popular matchups when Goblins versus Gnomes first came out. But that matchup hasn't been seen in quite some time. Now, how does Demon Warlock, which takes elements of Handlock in a sense, how does that fare up against the Warrior?
Well, I mean, the Warlock hero power is just the strongest one against control decks by far. So SilentStorm is going to be life tapping a lot in the early game, trying to just get an advantage on cards. And whether that can actually close out a game is the question, because Demon Lock's kind of not very threat dense. You have a lot of removal, a lot of cards that don't exactly pressure the Warlock. So he's just going to try to maximize value out of his implosions, look for Void Caller, and hope that Mal'Ganis doesn't get big game hunted.
Yeah, the removal for the Demon Lock is just so versatile. Like, you have ways that you can like buff up enemies to be able to like use BGH in creative ways, or use the Abusive Sergeant to like buff up your own creatures to get larger Shadow Flames. You have so much removal options every single turn. It's pretty crazy, and you could see the frustration in Savage when SilentStorm was in the last series that he played against him. Like, everything he put out, just SilentStorm had an answer every single turn, and that's just how the deck works.
I still feel like Warrior stacks up pretty decently against this.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if it runs like, you know, Harrison in case he needs to rely on Jiraxis to end the game.
I think SilentStorm already made a pretty big mistake, which was not keeping Dr. Boom. Like I said, this deck is not very threat dense, so I would have kept the card just to have a guaranteed threat on turn 7.
I think it's okay, considering that it's still so far away. It's like you said, you're going to be life tapping a lot. You're going to be playing it more like Handlock than you are like a Zoo. So it's definitely the case where you have time to get into it. Plus, that's not the most important card in your deck compared to having Void Caller and big tempo swings. Having like Doomguard pressure, I think, is much more important than the Dr. Boom.
Yeah, we'll see if he does end up drawing Doomguard, and getting that would be pretty strong for sure.
Or any non-demon that isn't Jiraxis. Although it's always funny when you have Void Caller summon like something else.
Yeah.
Funny is one word for it.
Yeah. It's amusing.
Broken, I think, is like a little more accurate. It's really strong. I guess we're just developing Acolyte here. Darkwonyx is thinking about priming his Despite, I guess.
Is it too greedy just to drop the Acolyte and then just gets Dark Bombed?
I'd be okay with it. It means that there's no Void Collar coming out.
Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Oh man, now if you Despite, you can't really deal with the threat right away. What if Mal'Ganis free rolls 9 damage?
At least. Because you still don't have a way to kill Mal'Ganis afterwards.
Yeah. Best course of action here might just be to leave that Void Caller alive until he knows he can deal with whatever comes out the other side.
Thing is, he still doesn't have that guarantee, so it's a while off before he's able to deal with it. I mean, he also could do the risk where SilentStorm played a Void Caller in one game against Savisa and didn't have any demons to summon.
The look on Savisa's face when he saw that happened. He was expecting the worst.
Yeah.
Or the best.
Well, I think we are going to see a Despite. Not too many of these other plays make sense to me.
Yeah.
Question is, does he actually kill the Void Collar this turn? He might just not attack. He might go face. All right. He's going to let it live. Figures that dealing with a 3/4 is a little bit easier than dealing with whatever it summons.
Which
It's the right
has
case.
a likelihood of being another 3/4.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid play in a lot of cases. I think we are just going to see another Void Collar, though. Just keep the pressure on. Whittle away armor.
Yeah. I guess Jiraxis wouldn't be too bad if you have Defender of Argus to make it a 4/16.
Yeah, like you mentioned, because of Harrison, you don't really want to rely on like playing it.
Right.
And it's also puts you in Grommash range most of the time, being that low.
Do that.
So just getting a 315, forcing them to have the execute is definitely the way to go. And in this case, you know, Darkwonyx doesn't actually have an execute yet, so that's going to go a long way towards winning the game for the Demon Lock.
Yeah, the Harrison Jones is pretty big because Ferdinand was talking earlier about the age of Handlock versus Warrior, and a lot of those games there was such an interesting dynamic of like when to play the Jiraxis as the Handlock, and a lot of times the games would just, you would go on and it'd be a stalemate for so long that Jiraxis and Harrison would be like the last 2 cards in both those guys' hands.
Yeah.
And they'd end up having to play it anyway because he'd run out of cards. There he is.
It's not execute.
That second Acolyte was such a good draw, but he really should have played it rather than looking to top deck and execute. I would really like to see just drawing 2 cards there. I mean, if you can keep up with the card draw of Warlock, per card, Warrior's cards are more powerful. So as long as you just don't run out of stuff to do, I feel like Warrior will just eventually win the game with a Grommash. I guess he's just going to draw another card here with Taskmaster.
Oh, he can dig for the execute again. He has another chance.
No, doesn't have that. He's going to dump the coin so he doesn't overdraw.
Yeah. He had 9 cards, but with an Acolyte on the board, if he attacked into it, he would have discarded a card the following turn.
Yeah. Defender of Argus is going to be pretty crushing, though.
I guess he would have overdrawn it. He played double Acolyte, so that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Mistress of Pain. So I guess it's another demon that he can just play and then preemptively get ahead of it, so that way Void Caller summons a legitimate demon.
Yeah. And the positioning is pretty good here because I think that having the Mistress of Pain Defender of Argus is, if he's planning on doing that with the Jiraxis as well, just probably a smart play. Having the Mistress of Pain is better than the Void Caller, I think, in that situation.
Yeah, it's a good point. Having it in the middle there is just going to give him 2 better options on how to defend it.
What now?
Yeah, I was wondering if there was an opportunity to get aggressive, but as the Warrior player, because you do have Grommash in hand, you do have Ragnaros and Brawl, like ways to reset the board, even Dr. Boom, some of your heaviest. But yeah, it feels like he's fallen so far behind the board that he's in danger of just getting pressured out of the game if he's not too careful. Well, I think Deathbite to try to at least kill off the Mistress of Pain is a start. Still very paranoid about that Void Caller, though.
Have we seen a Demon Heart yet from this deck?
No, I feel like we haven't.
I'm a big fan of just running 1 in Demon Lock, just so that your Mistress of Pains always have that threat. It's really not the worst card in other situations. It's pretty much Assassinate.
Okay, so he's attacking face, so he is getting aggressive.
Yeah, Darkwonyx is really all in on this brawl, pulling a lot of weight.
Ooh.
Oh, that's some pressure. But Defender Vargas might be the way to go. Continuing the life tap, I like it.
That's what you want to do. Mark of a great Warlock player is being able to oftentimes try to weave into taps whenever you can.
Yeah. And I think this is good because he knows that the demon in his hand right now is Doomguard. So if there's nothing played on the board, he doesn't have any way to sort of activate his Void Caller to put out the Demon Guard onto the board.
Oh. Is it time?
Is it time?
Might be. It might be because Dr. Boom might not do much here on this board whatsoever.
Well, you could trigger a couple bombs this turn if you wanted. It's probably not what you want to do, though.
Yeah, it doesn't feel particularly sharp, so it might be time to brawl.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll find out where this Armorsmith can backflip out as if nothing ever happened.
Which emote? The greetings. This could be pretty big for the outcome of this game, what comes out of this brawl.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him kill the Void Caller first.
Ooh.
It's actually pretty good for him.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Killing the Void Caller would have been massive.
Yeah. Because if it wasn't the Void Caller that came out, or his Armorsmith, he would have been left with whatever was on his board, plus if there was any demons, which we know it would be Doomguard, would be left as well.
I'm impressed so far in how this Warlock deck is performing in this matchup. I mean, drawing double Void Caller was a big part of it.
Oh,
boy. Yikes.
I think that, is that game? How much damage does he have?
A lot.
He's got 5,
Yeah.
9,
That's it?
12, 14.
Wow.
And SilentStorm's going to win game 3 once again with this Warlock Demon deck, carrying him all the way here so far and getting him one game away from going to the grand finals.
Wow. Darkwonyx took the risk with killing that Void Caller. Ends up putting one more power on the board, which in the end was giving SilentStorm exact lethal.
This Demon Lock carry, though.
I know, right?
I want to see Mistress of Pain against Worgen Infiltrator in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably might what happened. We'll see.
Yeah.
Now we go to the blind pick stage. Is SilentStorm just going to pick Demon Lock again? Just throw
Why not?
caution to the wind?
That's what he did last time. It seemed like it had a lot of bad matchups against the last lineup, but he just played it a lot anyway, and it worked out.
And then what does Darkwonyx do instead?
Well, Priest is Priest, so that's not the pick.
I mean, you could Shadow and Pain Jiraxis.
Oh, get him.
Yeah, there's that.
I guess Druid?
Druid, I mean, Druid didn't feel like it was too bad. I talked to Savitz about it because he was saying, like, you know, he feels like Druid actually does pretty decent against the deck. So that's why he picked it so often. Maybe that's rings true here if he ends up going Druid against Warlock.
Oh man, is SilentStorm going to continue farming Druids with this Warlock deck? He's 3-0 against it so far.
I know.
He's got so much experience against it so far, like just today as well. So that sort of gives him a leg up.
Yeah. Nobody learns, man. I think I would have liked to see Warrior, honestly, from Darkwonyx. I feel like he got kind of a bad draw against the Demon deck. I think you can expect SilentStorm to go with the Demon deck, and honestly, don't feel like Warrior's that bad against it.
No removal.
What else
no
would he
execute
supposed to
shield
get,
slams.
though? Like his shield slams and stuff?
His
And
shield slams and
executes.
executes,
Yeah,
Oh, you're right.
because it could have made him a little bit more confident in breaking out the Void Callers a little bit earlier.
He also could have killed the Void Caller before the brawl.
Yeah.
What he did was just like a straight up.
I feel like Warriors in
Fun.
general have been missing their removal. Like, there's a Freeze Mage game we saw against Mage, and he didn't draw, like, the shield slams either. Or, he had, like, one executes. Like, where's all these removals that Warrior has that's not popping into their hands? It's very odd, but we'll focus about that another time. Here we go, game number 4. SilentStorm, one game away from going to the grand finals. And again, this guy, he's gone through some of the hardest online tournaments. And he's quoted as one of the best players that you haven't heard of yet. And I think he's put the rest of the community on notice with this kind of performance so far.
He's trying to decide whether to keep this Dark Bomb or not. Personally, I'd like to see him keep the Implosion, just look for some board presence.
The Dark Bomb, I don't necessarily know if I like that keep. Because 3 damage, what's 3 damage going to do against a Druid?
That's a good point,
You
yeah.
can take out a Zombie Chow, but how good is that? And I don't think Darkwonyx even running that, because this is the token Druid. Very fast. Probably doesn't even run Chows.
Yeah, it is a token druid, which makes some sense to perhaps keep some AoE against those 1/1s.
Yeah.
Keeper's actually a fine draw here because you can expect him to Ruby Egg early out of this Demon deck, which is one of its best early game plays, to be honest. SilentStorm's going to opt not to coin life tap there, and we're going to see a pretty quick Dr. Boom. How do you feel?
3 Dr. Boom.
Wow. And he actually has Big Game Hunter in his opening hand.
Big Game Hunter and Mortal Coil.
Yeah.
One of the most efficient
Wow.
ways to deal with it. Wow.
And if he all-ins for this Dr. Boom, I mean,
When?
My thanks.
Here it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He even starts with the emote. I want to pay close
That's good
attention
sequencing.
to Darkwonyx's face while he gets the sweet, sweet taste of justice.
Double.
Wow.
oh, he can't double Mortal Coil at least, but that would have been, wow.
That is just like the perfect response.
SilentStorm's just going to soak in the glory of having the best answer, one of the best answers to Dr. Boom possible. Doesn't decide to use one of the Mortal Coils.
Darkwonyx just kind of accepts his fate there.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty smart play not to use the coil there because you leave him with a Boombot anyway, so your Big Game Hunter is just going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't want to waste your coin to Mortal Coil something that you don't need to.
Leverage the coin for something stronger later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wrath for 1 seems to be a good course of action. Needs to get closer to the Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see a Wild Growth here, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't speed up the Sylvanas, but maybe Hero Powering's better. You save a Boombot. It's actually a tough call.
Saving the Boombot might be more important if he plays any, the mid-range minion, the Void Caller.
All right, well, time for some coils.
Sounds good to me. Let's see what these guys can do. Hellfire, pretty important against the more token-esque desk.
Yeah, definitely a
deck.
great way to deal with like Violet Teacher tokens or imps, or not his own imps. Getting late.
6 damage, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty good. I guess it's Sylvanas time. The Cenarius draw's pretty strong too. If he Wild Growths next turn, he'll speed up the Cenarius by exactly 1 turn. Getting pretty late in the game though, he might opt to save that for a card.
Well, there's a lot of interesting cards out of the hand, but I think Void Caller is his best bet considering he has Mal'Ganis and Jiraxis in hand. And the sequencing of the plays does matter, right? The fact that Sylvanas came first before Void Caller.
Absolutely. It's going to favor the Warlock.
Yeah, whatever comes out won't get stolen since Sylvanas was plopped down.
Yeah, but I feel like that you're going to have to silence that Void Caller for sure.
Yeah, you can't let that live. Very tempting to play Power of the Wild too, but I think Wild Growth is a little bit better. Power of the Wild doesn't really change what dies and what doesn't. And you can use that after Cenarius for some better value.
Sure. That's a good point. You put the 1/1 buffs across those 2/2 treants if they survive. That's assuming, however, that they do survive. We do have Hellfire sitting in the hand of SilentStorm.
Shadow Flame as well.
Well, Darkwonyx is going to think through all of his options right now, but in the end, I'm pretty sure Keeper has to be the play. The only question is, what does he do besides that? And does he kill the Void Caller? Does he kill the Mistress of Pain? What does he go with?
I must safeguard them.
Okay.
All right, he's going to play Power of the Wild. Maybe.
Let none survive.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's so aggressive.
Okay.
All right, well, if he gets Savage Roar, how much damage would he have if his opponent couldn't deal with it? I mean, that would be game-ending damage, so... I mean, Darkwonyx being on the more aggressive side, realizing who's the beatdown and who's the control.
Well, this Druid deck from Darkwonyx has been the most explosive Druid deck that we've seen over the course of the weekend. With the token-heavy Power of the Wilds, double combo.
Right.
More often than not, if Darkwonyx has the option or has had the option when he's been playing this deck to go aggressive. He's taken it just about every time.
Leaving these minions alive, though, is going to make for a pretty nasty defender of Argus, especially with that Ruby Egg draw. This is why you usually kill minions. Alright, gaining some life back up. Nerubian Eggs, huge issue now since Keeper of the Grove was already played. Now we get to that stage of the game where Druid's far ahead the entire time, but it doesn't really have a way of closing the game out, and Warlock's inevitability kind of closes the game slowly but surely.
Yeah, that's one of the risks of going for like really crazy double innervate plays early on, because sometimes they pay off. Like if you didn't have the Doctor or the Big Game Hunter for the Doctor Boom, if he just didn't have a way to deal with it, that could have just straight up won him the game. But he just ran out of cards so quickly, and now his options are slim every single turn. He's sort of just waiting for the Ancient of Lore drop to refill his hand. And you said it right. He just doesn't have a way to just close it out. He's got to draw into like both pieces of his combo to be able to push through. And by that time, we've seen this Warlock deck can actually put out quite a bit of burst as well. It's got a lot of damage that can come from the hand.
We're about to see SilentStorm's infamous Implosion killing Sylvanas play. He's been doing this the entire tournament to avoid this card. Who needs Ironbeak Owl when you roll fours?
Well, I mean, he's also gotten the better end of it almost every single time. So I feel like if he rolls a 4, I feel like a Nerubian Egg and it might get stolen.
Yeah, even if he rolls like 3s with it, it's 3s or 2s, it's fine as well.
Well, actually, it's we forgot about the sequencing.
Yeah.
The Sylvanas goes Death Rattle triggers first, so he didn't need to Implosion.
Yeah, that was much stronger for sure. No risk on that play.
That's a really heads-up play, actually.
And all of a sudden, Warlock's back up to 27 health after a Mistress of Pain attacks a couple times. Goes to Ancient Healbot from 15 to 17. Or 27. 15, 17. 15 to 27.
Power overwhelming, okay. Well, I could go with Shadow Flame to clear the board, but I guess he's going to Implosion instead.
Yeah, well, works out okay. 2 is exactly enough to kill, but more than that, he just needed to do something to get rid of that taunt and start pushing.
Yeah, I guess the plan is to just let Cenarius live. I mean, even Force of Nature's Savage Roar isn't lethal, so... Okay, Vile Teacher Wild Growth is pretty cool on turn 10. You get a lot of 1/1s.
Picks up Power of the Wild number 2.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So he actually has a pretty strong board.
It's very true, yeah. Using that Wild Growth on turn 10, of course, you get those 2 tokens, because you also get the excess mana spell.
Shanax Rammus isn't too shabby either, but it's not safe from Shadow Flame or Hellfire.
Yeah, I don't think any plays are. I mean, SilentStorm can Shadow Flame the board for 8 if he wants to.
That's going to clear everything.
Yeah. And put some damage on as well in the process.
So then what is Darkwonyx? What is his best bet here then? To play it slow?
No,
hero power something down?
his best bet is to play Shade and just hope he doesn't have Shadow Flame. Knowing the cards, it's not going to work out great, but I feel like there isn't really a winning play here.
For the wild.
No, he just hasn't had many options.
Definitely. He had the Wild Growth double innervate, but yeah, like you said, he actually had double Wild Growth double innervate. And yeah, because of that, just not too many options as far as what to play with it.
Is that the second time that happened? I feel like Savit started off with double Wild Growth and like an
Right.
Innervate, and he still didn't win that game either.
No, he won.
Yeah, he won. It was
Against
double
Demon
Wild
Lock?
Growth. Oh, no.
Oh, against Demon Lock.
I'm thinking of a game that happened earlier in the day.
I thought you meant the screenshot one.
Yeah. Double Wild
I don't
Growth,
think I'll
double
forget that
Innervate.
game. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, so much power going to be on that board.
Yeah.
And SilentStorm is making the victory push and trying to halt the Warlock in its spot, in its place right here.
That is just insane value.
I mean, he cleared the board and left his board with more power than what it began with.
Yep, got to swipe face in top deck. That's the play.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he doesn't have to if he has Shade that's going to survive, right?
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe you swipe a minion.
Yeah, so that way you
Kill
reduce
the-
some of the chances that you die.
The Nerubians, I guess, are going down.
Yeah, that makes the most sense here.
We see there's...
Hellfire would also put him within his own range too, right? He'd be at 17 from the swipe, and then 3. So there's still a chance.
Mal'Ganis is going to put a pretty big wrench in those plans, though.
Yes, absolutely. That's the checkmate piece.
Yep.
And you know, Dark, Eno's all too familiar with the checkmate pieces because he's a chess national finalist for his age group back in the day.
For the wild.
It's pretty impressive.
Very impressive. As is his run, but I think he's on his final 2 turns here.
That put him in a position for a top deck Force of Nature to win, but
Oh, that Voidwalker. Destroyer of dreams.
the champion.
Protecting Mal'Ganis. The ultimate wingman, Voidwalker.
Yeah.
Voidwalker also skips legs day, by the way. 3-5, oh my goodness. Ascension Shieldmaster for 1 mana.
He skipped leg day so much, in fact, that his legs just disappeared.
Who needs leg day if you have arms like that, man?
Indeed.
Hyped and Lothar have nothing on Voidwalker.
Yeah. It was all downhill for Voidwalker after the Jersey Shore. He's in Hearthstone now.
Yeah, Darkwonyx looks like he can't deal with Mal'Ganis. A 3-5 sits in between him and one of the strongest permanents in the entire game. I think that's going to wrap it up.
This looks like the last turn of Darkwonyx's tournament, so he's going to think through every possibility, do what he can.
Look at that.
He can stay alive if he taunts up his Druid of the Claw and clears things with Savage Roar.
Can he?
Yeah, if he Savage Roars, he
The
can
Doom
clear
card
off
and
the...
oh, you're saying he thinks he can.
He thinks he can.
Right.
Waits for no one.
Because I'm pretty sure the Hellfire and the Doom card is enough to kill, no matter what happens here. What a story. The fact that 2 of the first place finishers of the group could not go past the semifinals. Instead, it's Chalky and SilentStorm, the runner-ups.
Yeah. Wow.
And,
The story, man,
yeah.
is that Druids just don't learn their lesson and keep trying to beat Demon Lock.
Well, SilentStorm was talking about this deck from day 1 in his interview. He said he really likes his Warlock deck and to look out for it. And, I mean, it's carried him through so many games.
Yep, there it is.
Swag fire.
Got him.
SilentStorm is going to the grand finals of Hearthstone Season 1 Legendary Series to face off against Chalky and $8,000. The best player that you haven't heard of.
Yeah, congratulations to him. It's just an awesome deck to see make it this far, and I hope we get to see more of it.
I mean, it's one of those things that's like he's playing the decks that people have forgotten about or don't even know about, right? The Demon deck, the Shaman, the fact that most people don't respect Shaman. If you do, it's more of that super aggressive, cheesy type of mech Shaman that tries to sneak in wins. And he's just doing his own thing.
Yeah,
Very
it's really
impressive.
cool to see.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I don't think we've seen the Shaman win a game, but Demon Lock's carrying.
Yeah, I think he's like up to 6 wins.
Demon Lock
on the
is
Demon
sitting
Lock.
on top
You might be right
of a
about
pile
that.
of Druid corpses right now, bringing SilentStorm all the way to the finals. But, yeah.
And the momentum is a big deal because you mentioned it. We saw both of the players that were in the losers bracket coming into today who had a chance to play earlier, get warmed up, get comfortable on that stage, were the ones who actually moved on to the finals as opposed to the players who came out first in their group.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy stuff.
Well, it's been a really fun journey so far, guys, and we're gonna have one more series. Of course, we have an interview with SilentStorm in just a little bit. We also want to encourage you guys to join the conversation online. Let us know, #HLS. You also have seen that there's been giveaways from PAX and different gear from PNY in coordination with Plantronics. We're giving away stuff here. There's packs for everybody who comes in. Someone was really gracious enough to bring donuts for the entire crowd here this morning. We're raffling away a TempoStorm jersey to anyone that's here if you were eligible to studio.
Yes.
That was donated graciously by Raynad.
Yeah,
And
I heard those guys have a website, too.
Yeah.
TempoStorm.com.
And we've been having a lot of fun here, and a lot has to do thanks to Gigabyte as well. They're a great sponsor and partner with us here at the ESL Studios. Check out the website and tell them how much that you love what they do with ESL, with the Hearthstone Legendary Series, and get them excited so that way they can stay and help us put on more seasons of this in the future. We're going to have a quick break on our end, but in the meantime, we have a few words with the winner, SilentStorm, with Anastasia.
Come legendary.
And I am here right now with our second finalist of the day, SilentStorm. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really well. I didn't know I could get into the finals.
Well, we are very proud of you that you did. For those that actually were not here earlier today, in your media piece, you stated that you were 17 years old and in high school. Now, are your parents very supportive of you?
Yeah, they're pretty supportive of me. They wanted to go with me, but I wanted to come along.
Oh, independent. I like that. And now, how much does winning this tournament mean to you?
It would pay off some of the tuitions to university.
So you would not leave university, even if you won this, you would continue doing both? Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go to school while playing Hearthstone.
Wow, that is incredible. Now, are you excited going up against Chalky? Are you nervous? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm pretty excited. I'm already this far, so I hope I can win.
Well, we hope so too. Do you have any final words to say for anybody watching right now?
Thank you guys for supporting me. I feel kind of regret now for bringing Shaman because it just loses games.
Well, have no regret, because even if your Shaman loses game, I mean, your Warlock just seems to carry. And stay tuned, everybody. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, our finalists are going head to head, and we'll see who is going to be our Season 1 Grand Finalist.